Hey everybody, and welcome to another MWO League Network Shoutcast. I'm here with the newest member of our shoutcasting team, but an old player, MavRCK. Hey Mav, how's it going?
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. Tonight we're going to be shoutcasting RHoD. It's going to be two of the top teams, Steel Jaguar versus Clan Smoke Jaguar, Battles of the Jags. On a lot of small maps tonight, and Mav, get us started here.
Well, this is actually a pretty interesting week. As we're seeing in the forums on the Reddit forums and RHHPG, there's always been some talk. RHoD has always been known for some controversy, some great matches, and the first thing that's come up are the choice of matches for these two teams. We're looking right now tonight for River City Night as our first map, followed by Frozen City, followed by Frozen City Night, followed again by Forest Colony, and then also by Forest Colony Snow. None of these maps are particularly suited to Clan Smoke Jaguar's expertise. As Homeless will probably mention further, these guys are sniping experts, and these are tight matches.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I actually saw a Smoke Jaguar player sort of mentioning that they had small maps, and I was wondering if it was, just talk or just Frozen City, but no, this entire set is definitely not going to favor their playstyle. It's a very kitey team. They love their ER larges, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle such a uniformly small map set.
Absolutely, because a lot of these guys who form up the Smoke Jagger team, these guys are players with like 10 plus years history. I mean, they've been playing since MechWarrior 4 in the days of the Nova Cats when these guys would boat 7 large lasers and like to the meter, these guys would nail players across the map. So these guys are no strangers to competitive play. They've been, as you mentioned earlier, reincarnated through different teams, but the core of these teams are solid, experienced players with lots and lots of experience.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick look here. I'm just gonna make sure they're not in match right now.
I just quickly got a message from Silent Wolf, and he was just saying that there will be a slight delay just due to the patch requirements of today. There was a mention from Zeus, special shout out to Zeus for all his help, where we were trying to get players to patch their game prior to today. It was mentioned by the devs that today would be a special patch where they're changing some of the files along, and unfortunately this is causing a bit of delay for both SJR and SmokeJag to get their players up to date. If I can also mention Z-Spot, we wanted to say thank you to all your help on the Reddit forums. For you guys who don't know, check out the Reddit Outrage HPG forums. We have a moderator by the name of Zeus who goes around collecting all the information from Russ, from the developers, to anything that's important for you guys, and he posts it on a timely basis. Unfortunately, he mentioned that his bots are currently offline. I think his home PC blew it, dropped a bit of coolant, and he'll be gone for a little bit. But a big shout out to you, Zeus. We all appreciate you, and the community appreciates you. So we'll be looking forward to when you can be back.
Absolutely. He's the best thing to happen to Outrage since ever. I mean, he's the only guy we brought on as a mod after the original creation, and you know what? He totally deserves it. So he's got my mad respect.
Absolutely. I think we also want to
So,
do a shout out to Smurfy. Huh?
oh, definitely. Because how does anyone play this game without Smurfy? I'm sure that everybody that's watching the stream now, knows of Smurfy. But if there's even one player, even one that I can save from their terrible mech lab, then go do Smurfy. That said, allegedly UI 3.0 coming in the next month or so. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not getting optimistic here, but yeah, it'd be good. It'd be nice if we didn't need Smurfy, despite the fact that I will still use it forever and ever.
Well, it's also been great because the devs have been working with Smurfy to get integration between the game. So the Smurfy website's updated as soon as the new features are added, new mechs are added, new weapons are added to the game. So they're working closely with him. So I have a good impression that he's putting a lot of input into the new UI 3.0, and we'll cross our fingers because part of the fun of MechWarrior isn't just playing the game, but actually designing your mechs and staying in the mech lab and seeing how your mech can be. I mean, that's just part of the game and always been part of the fun of it.
Absolutely. I mean, That is one thing about this game that's just killed it for me is that mech lab. It's painful to use. I mean, I don't know that I don't have the mechs I do without Smurfy, just because at least I can build them there and have fun and play around. Whereas, just don't enjoy doing that currently. And you know they know it. They've admitted it. They're fixing it, and that's good. Also, shout out to Tina because she's awesome. Oh God.
Yeah, hi Tina.
Work Shoutcast. I'm here with the newest
Definitely big
member of
thanks
our
to her as well
shoutcasting
for getting
team,
in
but
this
an old player,
spectator mode
Maverick.
up and working
Hey
with the
Mav, how's it
community.
going?
And I mean, that goes along too with Russ and Olagaza, MWO, choosing a new community manager. It's been great to have all the MIA managers working with the different leagues.
Sorry for anybody who just heard a bunch of doubled up sound. I'm obviously still sorting through technical difficulties and all those sorts of fun things. And I'm still trying to coordinate with all the players because unlike having Heim type to me all nice and easy about when they're dropping into match, I've got to coordinate with a bunch of people who probably will not remember like he does.
We should actually mention too, there's a big thanks to Heim as well. You mentioned Murray before, but he's worked a lot too to sort of get different people involved in the casting, getting more players involved on into actual league and competitive tournaments. So thanks to you too, Heim. We needed your help for tonight, so we appreciate it, and this will help with RHoD being broadcasted.
Absolutely. As much as I've been trying to run the Major League Mech Warrior tournament, you know, Heim has been there pushing the shoutcasting side of things. And honestly, if the competitive scene's ever going to get big, we need some shoutcasters. We need people to watch. And so, you know, big props to him. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in as well, because, you know, it's the only way we're going to get off the ground. It's a great game. It's got good potential for competitive, and we all want to see it flourish.
How's it looking on your side there, Home? Do you need a little bit more time? Because I have talked about River City Night, the first map we're going to be facing.
Yeah, go ahead, because I'm still getting things coordinated. I just got login access to the Twitch stream, so I will be able to update that now. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, why don't you go and do that? For some of you guys who don't know, we're going to be playing one of the original maps. It's still one of my favorites. Some people love it, some people hate it. Go figure. But it's River City Night. What we're going to be facing is we're going to have something called a Citadel. That's going to be located in the middle of the map. You're going to see this huge structure that you can walk through, around, and somewhat under. It's located in the middle of the map near a cap point called Kappa, in between Charlie 3 and Delta 3 in your maps. This map has on one side some very light hills with, again, a city on the side that leads up to a base up in the northeast quadrant where you'll find that there's Gamma. This map in particular has great coverage, so it's a great sniping fest from one side to the other. However, we often find that teams tend to move around and circle until they find an advantage point. On the opposite side, on the west side of the map, up into the north west corner, well, we have basically a portion of the map that has a couple fallen bridges, which gives some good cover fire, and also leads up until a high ground and then down into the main ground. At the very bottom of the map in the southwest corner, we have a boat. I don't know when you particularly use this, but it's interesting because occasionally you find a few mechs that like to hide out between there. There's no particular competitive advantage that we really know it for, but it's important to know occasionally when you're hunting for that last mech during your public drops, and there's always that one mech you just can't find. That's a great place. People often hide out there. It's difficult to see. People never go there, so just keep it in the back of your head here. One of the nice things about this because that's a specific map is that you do have two high ground portions. At the north part of the map, there are two high grounds. They face off each other and they're surrounded by a valley, by a river essentially. So depending on what locations you get, you can end up with two teams on either side of the maps that are shooting and crossing each other. But typically what ends up happening is that people stay in the low grounds and they use the Citadel kind of as a reference point, which they circle around. The Citadel being a high tower structure doesn't allow people a great view across, but you can use it to approach on either side, and you'll see people generally swing around from either side, from the east side to the west side, and they'll either go north or they'll go south around it, and eventually do a merry-go-round around there. So expect most of the fighting to be dense around the Citadel. Expect to be some good long-range sniping from there. You could be surprised. We know that Smoke Jag is well known for their long-range play. They like their ER lasers. They used to like their PPCs. Some of these guys go way back. If you ever meet some of their guys, they've got everyone from Fission. They've got guys from Energy, and there was Leo. Some great players there. We've got Silent Wolf. These are all guys that gave EMP a very good game last week. Right to the very end, every single match was very, very tight, and they're excellent with long range. However, you can't discount the SJR. SJR, these guys have been one of the top teams every single season since MW has come out, and that's due to Magician's hard work. They've got some great players like Jaeger who are just natural captains, and they do a great job. And I doubt they'll play to Smoke Jagger's strength. Don't be surprised if they get some short range mechs and close in. One of the issues with River City is that simply it's a small map. In fact, if you look on the actual map, you'll see that there's really only it's about a 5x5 grid, really large compared to something Alpine, which is almost like a 12x12 grid. It's huge. This map, however, isn't huge. So don't be surprised if FGR comes in. They were one of the first teams to bring out the streak boats. They were particularly effective, especially in the light mech rounds. I think they have a 3-3-0-2, so that's 3 light mechs, 3 medium mechs, and 2 assault mechs here. Don't be surprised if they run a few of those, 3 of those mechs with streaks, because they can take out light mechs in just 1 or 2 volleys. And SJR has been very, very good at knowing their enemy and doing whatever it takes to take them out. So don't be surprised if they run a few streak boats or something like that.
I definitely expect a lot of streaks, to be perfectly honest. I mean, these are some really brawly maps, and SJR really knows how to run that stuff really well. I mean, I know it's influenced my own competitive team's outlook, sort of. Not that I'm on the competitive team, but QQ definitely took some notes from watching SJR on that one Frozen City match against EMP, and it was just total furball. But at the end, Kit Foxes and Adders sort of won the day with those extra streaks. Mechs that normally are just relegated to the trash bin, sure enough, showing up in competitive in the right situations.
Absolutely. Who would have thought that? I mean, when I saw that, I didn't vomit. I didn't definitely do that, but I definitely coughed a little bit, and I was like, "Wow, good job thinking outside the box here," because we need that. We need to have teams pushing the envelope a bit. We want to have more teams thinking creatively, changing up the meta. We don't want to have a stagnant meta like we had before with PPC, Gauss, that type of thing again for a whole year.
A year
so
and a quarter. So long.
So long. Oh my God, so long, right?
Did that have anything to do with you leaving for so long by any chance? Was that the hiatus, or was there more to that story?
Oh, that was probably the huge part. I think at that point we had all been tired of. We thought for max maybe 2-3 months. I know Chaos was like, "Look, there's no way they're going to keep going, right?" That was actually coinciding with the rollback of the damage of the SRMs and also the hit reg of the SRMs. So unfortunately, there was no counterplay to PPC sniping. In fact, you might have known there was actually the heat introduction at the time when people could no longer boat in the Catapult XL engine, 6 SRM6s, Splat Cat, for example. That was a very fragile map. However, if you got in close and you were smart enough to get in close, wow, 2 shots, you could start taking out a Highlander pretty quickly. However, because of the changes, you had a rollback in damage from 2.5 down to 2.25. You had hit registration issues. That mech got heat. What is it called? The 6 SRM heat
Ghost
penalties.
Heat.
Ghost heat, exactly. Again, our concerns we brought up, but that didn't get implemented. So unfortunately, there was no counterplay. And when you have a game of set meta for a year and there's been no counterplay, no adjustments, it drove a few people off. We needed a break. I think everyone was burnt out as well. So it happened.
I mean, a lot of players left during that era, and a lot have shown up, since they released Community Warfare and started doing quirks and started breathing life into the game again. Because, I gotta be honest, I like Pop-Tarting. I did, it was fun. It's a fun play style. I still do it in my summoner sometimes, but that's the key. It's sometimes. I'd like to have another option. I want to not feel gimped running something else. Remember back when the Highlander first came out, 1 jump jet was as good as 5 jump jets. So you had all this extra tonnage. You could fire 3 PPCs that were like, 8 heat simultaneously with no penalty. The Gauss had no charge time. It was just like, come on, man. What are we supposed to do?
Absolutely. And that was just before the SRMs were changed as well. So, it was really powerful, but at least it had a counterplay to it. Then the changes happened, and then there was no counterplay. So what do you do then?
Yeah, but finally, we've got something back. Some people will say, well, it's fucking streaks. Well, whatever. It's better than nothing. So, and plus, at least you get a bunch of different playstyles. Now, in terms of ranges, you get standoff fights, you get scrappy brawls, you get all sorts of fights instead of just like, well, we're going to pop Tartar Ridge and we're going to see who wins the trading war and then we're going to clean up. Because that, I don't know, it was not very fun to watch.
Absolutely. And again, I'll put out there, I mean, if you can do lots of damage, but you're fragile, hey, it balances off. If you do moderate damage, but you're tough, okay, I can understand that. Again, things have to have strength and weaknesses, and as long as there are no weakness to certain playstyle, the meta is going to be stable. What we want to have is a variety of things that counteract each other, that counterplay each other, and then we're going to find that the meta will constantly evolve. So hopefully what will happen in the future is we'll have regular balance changes. We hope like every couple months, some feedback towards PGI will lead to some quick balance changes. I know they said they've got a new system in place where they edit the XML files and it can be implemented fairly quickly. This will lead into less stagnation, hopefully less frustration, and we'll have a much more balanced game by the time summer comes around.
Definitely. And another shout out to Tina for organizing the developer outreach forum and like starting to get some of this out there for feedback and at least pretending like you're going to care, which we have seen before, but you know what? It's a bigger effort than I've seen before, and so thank you for that. So question about how you think this is going to play out. Do you think CSJ is going to try to work their normal sort of kiting strategy into this, or do you think they're just going to say fuck it and go brawl?
Well, I'd actually like to know who their peers are too, because that has a lot to do with it. If Jaeger 12 is there, I mean, honestly, that guy's balls to the walls. I mean, he won't hesitate to go brawl, and he'll give them good information, and I think he'll take it straight to them. But if the other players there, I'm not so sure. I don't really know them as well, and I don't know their styles.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that CSJ can really do what they normally do on any of these maps. I mean, maybe, I guess, on Frozen if they take the right positions, but River City Night is going to be a pretty hard place to prevent a brawl if SJR wants it.
Absolutely. I know one of the favorite places for SJR is they like to take the Delta 4 area just on the southeast corner of the Citadel here. See if I can create an icon here. Does that come up?
Just as a quick update for anybody that's watching and not reading chat, no, they have not dropped a drop yet. You have not missed anything. We're still waiting on them. There were issues with patching and people not running the repair thing as was recommended. Oh, are you doing map tactic?
Yeah, I was trying to do map tactic.
And then it just blew up and put like a second map.
Up.
Okay, I'm gonna reload the page. You reload the page, and I'll make you commander again. And yeah, I recommend just using Sketch for everything instead of icons because icons are super janky. Not that everything here isn't, but that's what I've had luck with.
Hey, janky it is tonight. Okay, so tonight's word keyword is janky. Maybe one day in the future when we got some giveaways and stuff, we'll have people remember the keyword, huh? How's that sound?
Vocab word of the night. I like it.
Absolutely. Let's see if this works here, because I want to have people's attention to the Delta 4 quadrant here, just on the southeast side of the Citadel, right in this region right here. This is a really common area where you'll have mechs come out, and they'll like to smite right across to the following side through here. Now, depending on what they're running, here they're running a couple of medium mechs. It's really classic. They can run like a 5 medium laser, one ER large laser, 1 large pulse laser, Stormcrow. Wow, that fits right across the map, right across there to the other side, and all within ranges. So that could be a classic, like, sniping match, which would work very well to Smoke Jaguar's playstyle. However, that said, if you watch some of the SJR guys, especially on their streams late at night, you'll see that they're just as good as it too. So you could end up having these two great teams sniping it back and forth across this quadrant. It's hard to say. You might find, however, that the counterplay will be that they'll go across one side or to the other side, that is to Charlie 3 to Delta 3 and try to close in. So that's one area where you could see some sniping going back and forth. It's just on that southeast quadrant of the Citadel at Delta 4 there.
Yeah, I could definitely see some posting up. I will say that with the spawn points on Conquest, at least the teams sort of spawn together. Because in, you know, like the public queue and skirmish matches, that one lance is stranded over there by themselves at Epsilon, and the other two are across the water. And if there are any fatties or AFKs in that lance, they just get torn up crossing the water. So, you know, you won't see any of that fast-paced action right off the bat, I don't think, with these spawn points. And you could see some trading. I mean, you know, there's definitely a big gulf over the river. Unless Top Spawn decides to sort of wander through Park and take that route. That's probably the best cover they'd get coming in.
Absolutely. Well, that leads into like the you know, to run harder dies rules, which SJR came up with, which I thought is quite interesting, that they have a spawn point which you can take, and therefore it actually encourages teams to be a bit aggressive initially, and also get out of their comfort zones. That said, too, they can't just sack and snipe, because you don't really get equal, what do you call it? You don't get tie games, so to speak. You know, one team almost always wins.
Definitely. Quick update. They're all in a lobby now. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to spectate Solitude, or at least get the name typed in here so I can when they launch. Yeah. Hopefully we'll be kicking off in the next couple of minutes here.
Let me just check here as well.
Okay, there are no strikes, as always, I think, in RHoD, at least 8v8.
Do we know who the team leaders are of this tonight?
I want to believe Magician's probably drop calling it, and I don't know who's calling it for CSJ, but Solitude and the Esoteric are the two captains I have listed for Major League MechWarrior. Speaking of which, I'm totally going to plug that right now. Speaking of just how you're talking about ties and how that's kind of a pain in the butt, you know, static gameplay, it's not very fun to watch. That is the whole reason the Major League MechWarrior's rule set is the way it is. It's Conquest on drops where you're tied, and it's, well, rounds 1, 3, and 5, and it's skirmish on the second two drops when necessarily someone will be up. It forces action. Rounds are only 10 minutes long. You know, it's meant to be a viewer-oriented experience. So be sure to check those out. The first set of matches, I believe most of them are scheduled for this weekend. I will be releasing a calendar as soon as I get it filled in for those kind of things, but we have 2 scheduled for Saturday and 2 scheduled for Sunday. I will look at the times later. By later, I mean whenever I can find it.
Yeah, you know, also on your website, there's actually a match prediction. So if people want to go in there, put in their predictions, see what goes on. I'm curious who's going to win that. I mean, we
yeah, make your brackets. 2000 MC is going out for sure, and you know, stay tuned for all MWM or MLMW matches, because we've got what, over 20,000 MC. And 125 mech base to give away. We'll be giving it away to, you know, players for awesome plays, but also to viewers for tuning in and whatever. We'll think of stuff as we go. It looks like they're getting ready to launch, so they'll probably be in match in the next 30 seconds here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, this is going to be an awkward first match, kids. I forgot to turn on my controller, so I don't even know what this is going to do. Alright, they launched. Let's head into game now.
Okay, who are you spectating?
I'm just doing the... I just picked Solitude, spaces between every letter, but any player in match. The Magician, Jaeger 12, probably any of them are fine. Sorry for the rough camera movement this match. It is my fault because I did not plug the controller in.
Here we go.
Oh, no, I didn't fail. Okay. Alright, so let's take a look at drop decks for SJR. 2 Raven 4Xs, 3 Raven 4Xs, Direwolves, Wolverine, 2 Wolverines, and a Stormcrow. Looks like their beef is heading right. 2 Raven 4Xs are just sort of sitting in the city. CSJ, in the meantime, they like their position. They've got the airfield, and they are just camping out. Drop deck looks like 2 fire starters, 2 Direwolves, 2 Storm Crows. What am I missing? 3 Storm Crows.
Yep.
So interesting choices from SJR. Those Wolverines are definitely going to be probably the large laser Wolverines built for trading. I'm going to go verify that real quick.
Absolutely. And again, this is definitely playing into Smoke Jagger's type of game. They have their sniping type mechs, and they're sitting back right now.
And I'm looking at SJR's loadouts right now, cycling through them. They've got a lot of poking stuff. They're going to go ahead and play the poking war. Direwolves with, you know, your standard laser Gauss Vomit. 4 large lasers on those Wolverines, sure enough.
Absolutely. And you can see, you can definitely see SJR right now down in the southeast corner on Delta 4. And they're actually shooting uphill now to the Bravo 4 quadrant where Smoke Jagger is facing. Smoke Jagger is actually moving a bit now to the west side of the map, trying to cross over to the waterfront.
And you know, I'm looking at CSJ's drop deck. They built this anticipating SJR was going to try to steamroll over them. They have got the Brawl Lights. They've got a Street Crow. They are actually not built to trade this time. I think SJR might actually have the trade advantage here.
Interesting enough. You got G-Man over there in the Direwolf Bravo. He's trying to move up a bit. And Smoke Jagger's actually pinned themselves into the corner there. They're Bravo 3 at the back there.
Yeah. Nova
Direwolves
is going down. He's down to 66%. He's spread it all over, but that's still not good. You know, SJR is looking a lot better on percentages right now.
Absolutely, 62% already at the beginning of the map there. I mean, he's definitely their prime target.
G-Man and the Direwolf has taken some damage CT, but I believe he's also putting out some good damage.
And you can see Silent Wolf there on the far corner there at the Bravo 2. He's at 73% of that Raven 2X. I'm not sure what he's quite doing. We've got Dario going down on the east side, and he's in his Fire Star S trying to get in close to Gut there. Both Solitude and Dario start moving their Fire Stars, trying to close in the range here, but man, SJR, they're just trying to focus them a little bit. They can't get in close. We've already got Khan and his Storm Crow down to 70%. We got Nova at 50%. Man, it's not looking good. And Silent Wolf is on the far side alone there. I'm not sure what he's doing all the way there. I don't see him getting clean shots.
And honestly, CSJ's Direwolves are out sort of in the river there alone. They almost look... Are they crossing? No. They're just poking, but they are sort of stranded. I mean, if SJR pushed up right now onto the top of platform, I think they'd have them dead to rights.
Absolutely, they definitely have a weak side there on the east side flank there. So see what SJR does here, but yeah, Smoke Jag's definitely a bit split. I'm surprised. It just feels like the Direwolves pinned them into the water side there, and every time they poke out, they're just super exposed. Let's see what they do and how they get out of there, because again, these are assault mechs. They're not going to be easily... Oh, look on the east side there. Look at it. The Fire Stars are coming in. They're right on G-Man and Carnage.
Yeah, we got a pretty scrappy. It looks like SJR is moving up to the top. They're moving up to try to engage the Fire Starters, the Storm Crow up there. And G-Man and the Direwolf is going to be leading that charge. Let's get in on his cockpit right now, if I can click this fast enough.
I mean, Solitude and Dario got some good trades there on G-Man. You know, G-Man dropped down to 79%, and the Firestars are still at 90, 92, 93%. Taj moved up to support a little bit, but he took a bit of damage, but they've backed off now. They've all regrouped there at the upper city, and that's given actually the Direwolves a chance to get into position. So that was actually a good call by Smoke Jag. Gave a little bit of damage, got their Direwolves into a better position, so trade seemed to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't know what the Wolves are doing, though. They're just sort of sitting down there in the pit. It looks like they might be moving up now to engage, and if they do, they'll be in a pretty good spot to receive the push, but they're also being cautious to that right side.
Yep, absolutely. You got Magician there on the west bank there, almost towards the water side. He's with Grey Fox, giving a little bit of cover fire here, and now we've got the rest of SJR moving on the east side along the hills, trying to move up there too, and they're going to start trying to flank around without giving up too much of the front.
We're going to take a look at Beef right now. They're just being very cautious moving up. I think they know they have the advantage and they don't want to waste it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got now, what, 2-3 mechs around 50,
and he
50%?
gets the first kill. He takes down Silent Wolf.
First kill.
Yep.
Wow. Nice job. I mean, SJR is just playing a nice, smooth, consistent game here. They're being really, really patient.
To be honest,
55%.
I mean, they're playing CSJ's game right now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is exactly the type of game that Smoke Jagger wants to play, and SJR let them have it. But it's almost like they outplayed themselves.
Well, again, like I said, with CSJ, I look at their drop deck, and they have got a ton of stuff meant for brawling. Those 2 fire starters, obviously not set up to poke, and you know, that Street Crow. They were expecting to fight SJR's fight, and SJR flipped it on them and ended up going full poke.
Absolutely.
That was a very interesting strategy.
Check out the 2 fire starters up front. They're just right underneath the drop ship now. They're using it for good cover to give some good poke and so forth right now. Wow, Solitude just took a big hit. He's down to under 70% now. Carnage is coming down too. He's down to 6.
1 dead for SJR, 3 dead for CSJ. 1 more is going to go down. Ignotus is almost gone.
Yeah, and there's a good UAV up there in the air. No one's actually shot it down yet, but it's still there. It's giving good feedback. People know where everyone is. Yeah, SJR is playing this really, really, really patiently. They're doing a great job.
Yep. Dario, their freshest light, went down, got legged.
Yeah. I mean, now they're coming for the kill. Just watch SJR move in. I mean, they're just kind of closing in. They're creating a little noose here, and they're just gonna cinch these guys quickly by the neck. We got Pasha and his Direwolf at the back there, and we've got the other guys underneath the.
Oh my God, no!
Down.
The overlay, fuck.
Oh wow.
Oh my God, I failed again. Viewers, I am so sorry. That is the most depressing thing all day. Oh God. So we didn't actually cast that match.
Oh no, that's too bad because it was fantastic to watch. I'm sorry guys.
Oh,
this was
God.
a fantastic match.
Oh,
let's get a quick damage.
the pain.
We got the Beef doing the most damage, and his Wolverine 6K doing 556 with 2 kills and 6 assists, doing a lot of the bulk for SJR. T-Fun and his Raven Forex getting another 2 kills there. We had Canignotus Coterre for Smoke Jag getting a kill and doing 300 damage for his team, leading the way there. So unfortunately, that looked like it was Smoke Jagger's match, but they just had a couple of short range mechs and expected a brawl and didn't get it.
Yeah. So again, I have no apology that's going to make up for the fact that you guys didn't see that match, because it was a really good match, but I'll try to replay it for you up here. It didn't go all over the place, but it was just skilled play, a great strategy by SJR there. So God. See.
That's okay. I'm just reading the chat now. That apparently it's all my fault, so I apologize for that. I have no idea what we're supposed to have done, but yeah, I didn't realize that. I guess we're in a 5-minute delay here, so.
Yeah, I'm just like the worst person ever.
You know, it's AM radio time, as they're saying. So sorry about that, guys. We'll get the next match in.
God, I was really hoping I would never do that again, but nope, have not learned yet. So, okay, talking about what happened, SJR, yeah, just shh, don't poke me. I know, it's 5 minutes past. SJR sent a couple of lights up here, and, you know, they just sort of did a little poking. Again, SJR went complete trade deck. I think they did the complete opposite of what CSJ was expecting. SJR rolled their Beef over here and basically just traded from in this area. CSJ, in the meantime, initially liked their position up top. But again, because they just didn't, you know, they were down 3 trading mechs effectively, they sort of got pushed off into this area. And after trading from there wasn't working, you had a couple of fire starters come back up here and apply pressure. SJR eventually got aggressive on that and pushed them out of this area, and then just slowly creeped forward until the end of the match, where CSJ was, you know, basically just held up in this back section of the map. It was slow played to perfection by SJR, totally unexpected.
You know, I liked initially how Smoke Jagger started to move across into Bravo 3 into the riverside, and they started to make their way down to an even level ground. Ironically, in MechWare Online, one of the issues that happens is when you take the high ground, sometimes you are at a disadvantage. It's not always obvious because you feel like you're up high, you see everything. But just like in the original Mech 4 game, whenever you crested a hill, you're actually quite an obvious target, unless you're really organized with your team that you all present yourself. The whole team presents itself at the same time at the crest of a top of a hill. If you're just doing it solo, that one person becomes the obvious target. And so SJR had an excellent vantage point to see whoever was peeking at one time and focus all their mechs on him. And unfortunately, Smoke Jaguar started to have one guy at a time poke. First, we saw it with the Stormgo come around the corner, and he got focused down right away to about 60%. Then we saw the next player get focused down at a time. You have to be very careful when you're at the higher grounds that when you decide to poke, you poke as a team. You want to present yourself together. You want to basically combine your effective health points, and that way the opposing team can't shoot just one person at a side. You have to be very organized. So sometimes the higher level ground's not always to your advantage if the other team is very well organized, and unfortunately SGR is very well organized. I think Smoke Jagger would have done a lot better if they continued their workaround when they made their way to Bravo 2 through the water side, and maybe try to go around the Citadel and rotate again to their unequal level grounds.
Yeah, it was just definitely not at all what I expected, and I mean, frankly, I think CSJ was too reactive in planning their strategy, where they built their drop deck based off what they thought SJR was going to do, which is just, steamroll into them. And then they didn't adapt. They needed to steamroll in there. They were down 3 trading mechs, and when you're down 3 trading mechs, you're just never going to win the trade. It doesn't matter if your players are, quite a bit better. You need a large skill gap to make up for 3 mechs down. They needed to get aggressive and just steamroll in, because that was really their only hope at the point where the drop decks were so, horrendously stacked against them.
Absolutely, and we saw that when we saw the fire start to move up. They tried to make a play towards Charlie 5, and they kind of focused G-Man there for a bit. They did a fair amount of damage on him, and then they had to back off again. They weren't able to get the full support. It gave time for the Direwolves to move from the riverside at Bravo 3 up into the upper city and regroup, but unfortunately they didn't have enough cover fire. So, they made a bit of a surprise, caught G-Man out, took about 20% damage, but hey, they weren't able to actually do enough damage or take a single player out. They were close, but unfortunately, a fresh Direwolf has a ton of damage. 3-4 alphas isn't enough to be taking him out. And then you had Brief quickly move into the right position, give cover fire to the G-Men, and flush those guys back onto the upper base. And by that point, they'd taken enough damage, and, it was just a matter of time. When you're up 3 mechs, you've got a fresh team opposing you. These are good players. These are good teams. They're not going to make mistakes and go down very quickly.
Yeah, it was definitely even interesting to see the slow play on the finish by SJR. There was no getting greedy. There was no taking risks. There was no moment where they weren't totally focused on what they wanted to do from the beginning of that match.
Yeah, it's the classic veteran team. They know what they're doing. They've been around forever. They're not going to give you easy wins.
Oh god, I can't believe I let the overlay thing happen again.
Okay.
It was mostly that it was just such a good match. I feel bad, but whatever.
It was an amazing match.
I am going to clear the canvas and go ahead and load up the next map, which is Frozen City. They're going to be playing on Frozen City.
We got Frozen City here. We're going to have a 2-2-2-2 drop. That's 2 lights, 2 mediums, 2 heavies, and 2 assaults here. Again, it's well, this is actually a somewhat bigger map, but still relatively small, like River City. However, this is one of the classic maps. I mean, this has been the classic, dual PPC Gauss or 3 PPC AC10. You know this map. Everyone knows this map. We were all playing this map and doing the jump snipe meta for a while. Hey, Smoke Jag knows this map too. We could see them actually try to snipe this match again. However, there are a lot of good locations, a lot of good ways to approach on each other. You've got all the buildings on both sides. You've got the drop shit in the middle. You've got Jenner Alley, which is at the northeast quadrant, going all the way from Theta all the way around to Alpha 3. There's a lot of good ways to get in close. In fact, I remember playing this back with Chaos, and we had no problems playing against a jump snipe team at the time, because we could take our DDC and make our way through the tail of the drops through Echo 4, just past Epsilon, straight down there, and make our way all the way up through the city there. You can close in. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I don't expect a tunnel rush. People don't really do that anymore. But hey,
I
We'll see
missed the
what they
tunnel
do.
rush. Whatever happened to that? Same on
Oh,
Forest Colony. You just never see it. I think it was 12v12 that killed it. I got to be honest. You know, it was like,
mhm.
it wasn't a great strategy in 8v8, but you know, it worked sometimes. But 12 people in a tunnel, it's just a mess.
Yeah, absolutely. The tunnel rush was a real cheese, but where it was really nice, like you said, was an 8v8, especially when you could get a couple of fast light mechs, get around the side, start flanking. Or back in the days when we had cap points, when we didn't have to get through like 5 turrets and whatever and whatnot with a light mech and basically die to it, you could actually run to your team and you knew you could time by a minute 30 seconds, a minute 40 seconds light would hit your base. And you knew the timing down to the minute and the second time. And that if you were too aggressive with another team, you'd simply have two lights poking at your base, and you'd have to turn around. That was the classic thing you could do. You could move your mediums, your heavies, your salts, make your way yourself all the way up to Charlie 4, start taking positions at the dropship. And if you weren't aggressive enough or you weren't able to get enough kills, all of a sudden your base would be capped. So now you'd have to decide: do I go back? Do I continue to face off? Do I have the 4 minutes I need to actually take out the opposing team, take out their 8 mechs? So now you're 6 versus 8. You're at a deficit. Or do I run all the way back and turn your back onto a team that's just ready to take you out from the behind?
Yeah, on these smaller maps, I always did like the old assault thing. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because, like, I remember the back caps too, where it's just like, yeah, we brought a squad of 4 Jenners, we sit on your base and you lose. It's like, okay, yeah, that's great. But it did, offer some difference from skirmish, because like right now assault is just skirmish where you can't go on parts of the map. There is no effort to base cap. I got base capped about 2 weeks ago. First time it's happened in well over 6 months. I mean, nobody tries
Mm-hmm.
it anymore, and it really did provide some interesting options where on these maps I feel it was a fair premise to say you should defend your base. It's small enough that you can get back at pretty much any time. Whereas, on something like Tourmaline,
Mm-hmm.
fuck that. I'm not walking back to the base. If you want to back cap us and be done with the round early, then so be it. But for Forest Colony and Frozen City, I do like Old Assault, gotta say.
Yeah, I wish they put it back in. Old Assault was a great mode. Again, I think it really worked well with a very competitive team, a team that had their light pilots who knew what to do, knew when they wanted to turn teams around. It also made the cap accelerator worthwhile. I mean, that was something to really consider at the time. And man, there were some deadly matches when you had both teams at both caps going down, and it was just a sliver. Those were great times. I mean, those were really great times.
Yeah, I gotta say, on a lot of maps, I just think it should be 8v8. I don't think they were designed for 12v12. 12v12 is really clustered, like Force Colony. I know they say they're going back and redoing it, and it's like, that's good, because it's just not, it doesn't fit, 24 people very well. It's really awkward, so it's good to see that they're finally going to go update those and bring them up to speed. Still don't see everybody in a lobby yet, so we are just sort of idly speculating. Let's take a look at the drop deck. What is it? It's 2-2-2-2. So pretty even this time around.
Yeah,
Of course,
a
it's going to be
classic.
2 Direwolves on each team. I can't imagine, on a map this close range, they'd take anything else.
Is there anything you wouldn't take? You would take over a Direwolf in the assault category? I mean, currently
Stalker.
the
I would
Highlander,
take a
the
Stalker on a
Atlas.
really long range mech. And,
Yeah,
you could even see that last week when CSJ used that to devastating effect against EMP's Direwolves on Alpine.
good
They
point.
just out traded them like crazy. And, Stalkers just have that great peaking profile. Direwolves are fat and angry, but once you commit to something, you've really got to commit. It's got to be like, I'm going forward now, we're going to kill whoever's in my path, whereas a Stalker can just afford to ridge hump all day. Otherwise, though, no, not a single one, because it's like you either have the firepower of the Direwolf, which just dwarfs every other mech,
Mm-hmm.
or you've got the Stalker, which can peak better than any other mech and unlike any other assault. But the rest of them, they're just, shittier versions
Definitely.
of the aforementioned.
Well, it was only like 3, 4 weeks ago. I think Heim was mentioning on his stream that he doesn't even think yet the community realizes how overpowered the direwolf is, and I think he's right. I think realistically, you've got the direwolf, you got the stalker there, but there's no other assault mechs even come close. We've got nerfs to the jump jets for assault, so why would you choose any of the jump jet assaults? It doesn't give you any competitive advantage. It doesn't help you do any more damage. So as soon as something has overwhelming firepower or overwhelming sustained DPS, you're going to take those mechs naturally. So until PGI gets around to balancing off the assault mechs, balancing off the mobility, some of the tweaks and stuff like that, you're really only left with a couple of mechs to choose from, and that's unfortunate for a whole class of mechs. It'd be great to see if maybe the crabs get a little bit better. We'd like to see the big DDC, the old classic with ECM, be useful again. And it is on pug matches, but right now in the competitive scene, it just isn't.
Yeah. And, I don't expect everything to be useful in the competitive scene. There's naturally going to be things that just, you're never going to have a well-rounded mech in competitive. I just don't think you're ever going to see, a bracket build or anything like that. Not that they're great in pug matches, but, they serve an interesting purpose. But I do wish there was a little more variety. I will agree.
Sure. Let's do a shout out to the G-Man. G-Man's done a great job with his MetaMech site. It's a great resource for a lot of players, new players, old players as well. He's been doing a tier list, and I think he's done a phenomenal job. I love seeing his mechs updates every week. He does MWO Smurfy builds as well, so if you don't know the builds to use, there's a couple suggestions you have, and they're pretty much on par with what you'll see the top players playing. So definitely check out G-Man's MetaMechs for the current tier list. And there's a good guide to tell people what mechs you should buy or shouldn't buy. Not everyone wants to spend $30 on the latest Mac, but you gotta save up your C bills. And yeah, it takes time. Or if you are gonna spend your $30, you want to know what mechs to buy. He's got a great resource there, and he's doing a great job every week keeping updated. So shout out to G-Man and his metamex.com site.
Yeah, he has been immensely useful. It's like I prefer to make my own homebrewed builds, but that's because, I've been doing this for years and I know what makes a good mech. I can just look at a mech and its hard points and know what to do with it. But, for someone just wandering into Battletech or even just this game, it's totally different considerations. You just, and it's a great starting point. Even if you don't, like the builds right off the shelf, take the concept and alter it around, because ultimately he's got the little details down. Ammo placement, which places to shave armor and why, all those little things that are important. It's just a great way to get better at building mechs, is to look at the theory that goes into it. So definitely check out G-Man's MetaMechs. He is actually on SJR's team, if anyone does not know that. So yeah, also they are both in lobby right now. I saw SJR in lobby first, so I believe that means they'll be team 1. So on map tactic, that should mean they're the red team. Maybe.
Okay, maybe.
So it looks like CSJ is going to get the wide open lane. So they'll get to pick if they want the fight to go to a different place, like out in the field or over by Theta. We've seen a couple of teams this season in RHoD do a quick rush for Theta and then try to hold down there with that firing line. We saw SJR actually do that once. So I could definitely see CSJ doing that sort of thing. I definitely don't think they intend to let SJR dictate the pace of the match after that one. I think that one probably pissed a few of them off. So I'll be interested to see how they come out swinging this time.
Smoke Jagger's got balls, no doubt. I mean, those guys aren't going to let that one go easy. They'll take it to SGR this time for sure. I can imagine they're just pretty disappointed in themselves, and they're just going to play twice as hard as last time.
And that's what we like to see. It's not about how hard you get hit. It's how hard you come back.
Absolutely. How's it looking? Are they ready to drop in?
I haven't heard from anybody, but I'm looking at them both in lobby, so I've got to believe that they'll be in match in 2 minutes or less. Praying here.
That's looking good too. One of the guys I wanted to do a little shout out to is actually on the Smoke Jaguar team. That's Silent Wolf. This is a guy who's been around for quite a while, and he's quite a good player too. So we should shout out to some of the Smoke Jaguar players. We know a lot about the SJR players, you know, from Magician to the Beef, who does his videos are pretty funny, to G-Man. But we don't know a lot yet about Smoke Jaguar. So I'm hoping that Koenig knows take some time and maybe can get these guys streaming a little bit. Let's find out a bit about these players because they are good players, but I just don't know a lot about them.
Yeah, and I will say, anybody watching the stream that's on a competitive team, you know, we're doing these little highlights. You know, we need stuff to just babble about between matches. So please, you know, send MWOLeagueNetwork@gmail.com. You know, some players you want highlighted or little blurbs or whatever. I know I've gotten logos and brief unit descriptions from a lot of you teams and social links. We'll be making some little awesome screens with those for Major League Mech Warrior. I need to do a bunch of data entry this weekend and get all that sorted, but you know, we're trying. Anything you'll give us, we'll talk about and put out there. So
if you guys got sponsors or things, let us know as well. We'll talk about your sponsors. We'll do shout outs. We want to get everyone involved in here, get the community involved. We know, for example, Hairpiece is currently watching right now. We know Hairpiece is currently sponsored by Vidal Sassoon. Hey, Hairpiece, right? Vidal Sassoon.
hey,
All right. So any of you guys got sponsors, you got groups, you got things, you got other tournaments. Some of the other tournaments want to be broadcasted or shouted out. Let us know. Okay. We'll pass it on here. If there's issues you guys have in the community you want us to talk about too and bring up and stuff, any controversies, anything fun you think's interesting, let us know. Or if you have other questions about the previous matches, let us know in the stream chat, and we'll go back to it.
I'm gonna go ahead and reopen my friends list here just to make sure that it's updating. I think they fixed it though. I think they fixed the only thing that I cared about, and I love them for it. I don't see the friends list jumping around anymore. You know how it did that when like any status changed of anybody, like your friends list starts going around? I don't think it does that anymore. I think they fixed
Maybe
it,
you could
and
have
I'm
one of those
super
guys
happy.
maybe like Magician or one of those guys can message you or I and just let us know they're about to drop and give us a
Yeah,
countdown like 10 seconds.
Solitude is doing that. I just never count on people. I always like to watch the and Mag now teasing me about the overlay. Everybody is gonna give me shit about the overlays for the rest of forever, and I deserve it. Okay, it looks like they have launched in match, so let's rock. And I promise overlays going down this time.
Awesome. Here we go. Frozen City. Here we
Boom!
go.
Success. What do you know?
Man, I have to say, the first time I dropped into this map, I loved it. It's a good looking map and it still looks good. It's withstood the test of time.
Definitely, whereas Forest Colony just doesn't quite feel right. You know, this map has shifted in how it plays so much over time. All right, well, for SJR, they haven't quite started yet, but I do see Wolverine 6K again, so I feel like SJR might be, again, trading. I see Banshees over there on CSJ's team. All right, so two Raven 2Xs, a Stormcrow Prime, Wolverine, two Direwolves, two Timberwolves for SJR. So pretty standard drop deck. Looks like they're kind of heavy on trades. Tunnel Rush from CSJ. That's right, doing it like fucking pros. I love it. We've got Banshee, King Crab, two Timberwolves, Stormcrows, Firestarter, and a Kit Fox. I think they're gonna brawl. I think they just want to take it to SJR. I love it. You don't see a Tunnel Rush, and that makes me happy. So SJR...
Tunnel Rush, go figure. They're coming all the way around through the tunnel. Who would have guessed? But on the far corner there, up into the Theta area, you've got them just hanging out there. Wow, who would have guessed?
Yeah, and T-Fun is watching the back in his Raven, so I think he's going to see the Tunnel Rush coming from the back. I believe he does see it, and he is shifting over now. It looks like SJR has Theta, and so now they're gonna do that open field strategy.
You can see Nova move up in the Firestar. They're coming down the side of the dropship there. Have you made sure you switched over? I'm just checking, buddy. You switched over?
Yes.
No relay issue?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you for. You know what? We're gonna double check
down the dropship here, guys. Take a look at that. They're on the south side of the dropship there. They're peeking over down through the valley, and you've got SJR there just kind of holding back there at Theta, but they can peek around some of the buildings there.
CSJ, I don't know how, but they've taken damage, like 95% on the Banshee, 96% on the King Crab. They're waiting for their King Crab. They're getting balled up, and then they're just going to slam in. So they're regrouping at the dropship right now. See if SJR is doing anything. They are not. They have gotten totally spread out there in this big-ass firing
We
line.
got Nova moving up. He's trying to peek right now. He doesn't know exactly where they are. He's wondering where they are. But if he peeks, he's going to be exposed, and we've got a firing line. Look at that firing line from SJR.
Took a Gauss shot.
Yeah, look at that.
Down
83%.
to 83%. Wow, let's...
He faced that fire line. That's what you got to be careful of. High ground can be very dangerous when you've got a fire line faced you. You can't peek by yourself. You got to peek as a team. Like, pretty much time it, guys.
Well, not even just peeking by yourself. You can't do that in a light, straight up and straight back on a ridge when you don't need to. I mean, you need to really float sideways on those kind of things. I'm watching through SJR's cockpit right now. Carnage, that is.
Yeah. Yep, they're looking at Esoteric right now on his Stormcrow there. They're wondering if they can take a shot at him. Taj took a little bit of hit as well, because, man, they're looking towards Theta to cap it, but, I mean, SJR got it first, and they're lined up there.
CSJ is bringing their beef downstairs, though. I see a Banshee thinking about going downstairs. I'm not sure if he's going to go all the way down, though. CSJ is being cautious on this approach. They know that they have to get this right, and they're only going to get one shot at it.
I mean, I think Beef is also pretty famous for his Wolverine, but, you know, he'll know how to handle a Banshee. He's played that a lot as well. It's still a bit of a standstill now, but SJR's got the points going, so the Smoke Gyro's got a peak. But this is such a good position for SJR now. I mean, it's hard to approach there. This is a tough one.
They're all balled up. They're all balled up. CSJ is totally getting ready to go in. I'm just waiting for it. I'm not leaving this cockpit right here.
Because we got two groups here. We've got Moderate, and we've got Beef, and we've got Gauze over there, and we got Magician kind of deciding which side he wants to go to. So they're split. If Smoke Jaguar charges, they're going to have double flanks on both sides. They're not going to know which way to go. This is a tough decision. Well, we got to.
Here we go. It's happening
Here they go.
right now.
There they go. We got, wow, look at that firing line. They've got great flank locations. Wow, here they go.
Oh, wow, Beef already killed one of them. Wow. God, that was some great focus fire. Oh, two down. Dario's down now. The push is kind of split. I mean, they've got some Solitude goes down.
Wow, that's super fast. We got Taj by himself on the western flank.
Pasha goes down. They're switching to the Stormcrow. Stormcrow goes down. Oh, man.
Wow.
This was a wipeout. Direwolf is not looking good. Moderate pudding could go down in that Dire.
Moving up, and Storm comes down. Okay, we lost one.
SJR got... Yeah, I lost one, but I think that's going to be it. Beef. Kills secured all over the place in that match.
99%. He wasn't even touched. 97%, 97%,
yeah, no,
99%.
It was a wipeout right over that ridge. I don't know that. I mean, look at those damage numbers.
Yeah,
I mean 75, 30, 24, 57, 40. You know, SJR totally almost even damage spread. Lowest was, you know, just below 200. Everything else like 250 or above.
Right, and you got Beef there, almost MVP again. 3 kills, 5 assists, 398 damage in the Wolverine. I mentioned kills per ton. I mean, he's topping the charts right now.
Definitely,
really
and G-Man and Moderate were both in Dyers, so that definitely explains their extra contribution. And they did.
What, 5 guys above 97%? That was a rough run for Smoke Jaguar. I mean, good for them to try. I mean, who would have guessed like a tunnel rush, and they really pushed it for a brawling side. But unfortunately, with Theta down in the location there, with the open ground behind it, where it's really hard to approach Theta, when you can have a firing line on it, either, you know, Magician's got to decide on which one you're allowed to cap and change it, but I just think that location's way too strong. Like, you basically have to get to that open ground right away, because whoever gets there first is going to have the advantage.
Yeah, I mean... That was a tough one, because it's like, I don't know what you do. I mean, the tunnel rush, as amused as I am by it, it's like, I think they were essentially counting on lazy scouting by SJR, I think, for that to work. I don't think there was any reason to do the tunnel rush, because that gave SJR, you know, extra time to set up, other than... you know, hoping that SJR's lights weren't going to do their job and not catch him back there. That didn't happen.
Absolutely.
And then the lazy peek by the light, they did a little, dancing and took some extra damage they probably shouldn't have. But then
Hmm.
SJR was so ready for the push over the hill. I mean, when one guy is dead before you hit the ground at the bottom of the cliff, it's just hard to come back from that. I don't know what else they could have done. It
Absolutely.
is just a horribly strong position. The minute you peek, all eight
Hey,
of your guys have line.
mhm. Hey, Bill, are we on Map Tactic? Can we show something here? I just put
Yes, we
some
are.
stuff up there. So just on Map Tactic, we can see in the purple dots here, the two X's where SJO are. They had a fire line, but essentially they moved to a 4-4 movement. You actually saw a Magician at one point switch to one side, then come back. And I think that was a really smart decision to split up their firing line. So basically we had a front by Smoke Jagger, and as they moved in as a group, they decided did they cut to the right or cut to the left, and that made it hard. It was a very smart decision on whoever shot called on SJR. One of the issues here is when you're looking down over the ridge, it's very, again, easy to funnel, and it's easy for SGR to look up and start focus firing whoever pops first. This is often why when they talk about sniping and so forth, when they're looking towards edges, they never want you on top of a cliff. They always want you on either sides. This is essentially analogous to that. One of the ways to actually counter it isn't actually go straight across and face him, but is actually to find the same level ground. We often see this in Alpine Peaks when we used to have people at the Tower Ridge. We'd actually sweep across up into the northwest quadrant, so you'd have an equal ledge on the tower, and that actually was the counter to people camping at Tower Hill. On this map, however, where we have is on the red section on the southeast quadrant, just on E5 here. If you actually move to that side there, you're actually on level ground, and because the way SGR is positioned, they have a fire line split 4x4 here. Only 4 guys would actually be able to face a group that was positioned at, say, Echo 5 or close to Delta 5, where I put in the red markings. That would have been another area. It would have sacrificed time. You would have lost points. However, you had enough time. There was 10 minutes left in the game. Smoke Jagger, I think, could have taken the time, moved through Epsilon, down through Delta 4, into Delta 5, create a firing line there where you're on equal grounds, and that would have negated the high versus low ground issues and the lack of coordination. Again, a high ground can be very good if you're well coordinated or if you're facing a less coordinated team, but it takes a lot more coordination, a lot more timing, and SGR just had the better ground at that point. So the counteraction to this point could have actually moved into Delta 5 and locating there and then moving across at the same level playing field.
I think that they definitely could have done that. That said, they had a king crab, unfortunately, and I
Very
think that
slow.
ultimately, they just weren't like if their slowest mech had been a Timberwolf. I think that sort of strategy could have worked a lot better. As it is,
Hmm.
though, with their deck, I don't think they would have had the time because they didn't have time to cross. They had a very
Do you know what they were
brawly
running
deck.
in that king crab? I mean, what
Um,
were they running that?
I didn't actually look into a ton of their players. Now that I think about it, I really should have cycled through their cockpits and see what was going on. It looked like a brawly deck, so I just sort of assumed it was. I
Maybe like a
assumed they
quad
didn't have much to
UAC5 or
trade with.
something?
That or, maybe dual AC-20 or something. I mean, it
Hmm.
definitely looked heavily brawly, so I, yeah, I don't know that there
I'm
was
curious
anything
because
they could have done once you get that position because it's you can shoot at anything that pokes at you and they can't
right.
approach you from any flanks because you're up against out of bounds. It's just ridiculously powerful.
Because let's look at their choices. I mean, we look at Smoke Jagger's choice in their assaults. They had a Banshee 3E, which we know generally runs like 2 ER large lasers, 2 large lasers with 3 AC5s. It's got good burst, good long range, good sustained DPS. However, it's comparable essentially to a Direwolf with 5 UAC5s with the range and poke of like 3 medium lasers. That said, why would you choose a crab? I just don't know. I think we talked about briefly, we talked about really being the stalker versus a Direwolf. The Banshee is something I thought about, although I personally don't like its torso and its hitboxes because you got to square up a lot. You can't really torso twist a lot. And then if you do, you end up losing your burst fire because it needs to be facing on to keep the sustained DPS up. So I'm curious, what was in their minds that they would choose, like, these two assault mechs versus other ones, which I think we pretty discussed easily are the tier 1 mechs of this category.
Yeah, I mean, you see king crabs every now and then, and don't get me wrong, I love king crabs. I do. The extra torso twist, they feel good for an assault. They feel zippy for as fat as they are. But
Hmm.
when I think about it, it's like what build could I do on a king crab that I don't want to do better on a direwolf, right? Like it's I've got a dual Gauss, dual PPC crab
Hmm.
setup. I've also got a
Don't
direwolf
say
that
that
does it
6
all on one
machine gun
side with jump
LRM-20
jets.
thing.
Yeah, the six machine.
That
Whenever I
doesn't
see
count.
I don't know, man. I think LRM5s are the way to go, but
Yeah, no. For any guy watching, any of you guys out there running 6 machine guns, dual LRM-20 king crabs, please don't do that. Just honestly, just, I don't know why you're doing that. But and thanks to PGI for giving us those free king crabs, by the way. I got a couple of those as a result. But we're digressed a little bit. I don't know why they chose these mechs. I don't know why they thought these are better brawling mechs. I personally would take a Direwolf with 5 UAC 3 medium lasers over any like dual AC-20 mech out there or quad AC-5. I just don't see it better in any other way. And likewise, if you're sniping, I mean, you've talked about the dual Gauss setups. We've talked about the 6 lasers, stalkers. I'm not entirely sure why you take a crab. I can kind of see, a reason for the Banshee. I know there's some great Banshee pilots out there. I'm not one of them. It just doesn't suit my strength, not my playstyle. That said, I still think that the Dashi and the Stalker would be better choices.
yeah, I'll agree. But that said, I just don't know that they could have done anything when they gave up that position for so long down there. It's just a really awkward position to give up, unfortunately, and I don't know that you can really approach it from many angles because it's like, D5 is probably their best approach, but it's not like SJR is just going to sit there and wait for them to take out one side. They are fairly good about shifting that line around. Maybe they even needed to sort of hit them from 2 sides where. Well, then again, it's like even then SJR's got the trading advantage. It's tough, I don't know what to do in their position because honestly, that's a really shitty position to assault. There aren't many positions in the game where it's just like, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's kind of like the I-9 hill on Alpine. It's like, how best do you approach that? Well, you just don't. If you don't have it, just stay away from it because you're gonna die going up it.
And whoever the drop commander is, we agree. I mean, it's tough to make that decision at the time. You're making a call. You might be conversing. We don't know what's going through their minds at that point. To make a huge decision and then, actually retreat, move along a ways the map, halfway across the map, it's a hard decision by any means. That said, our next map coming up is going to be Frozen City again, but it's going to be Frozen City Night with a 350-ton drop deck. I mean, this is going to be pretty interesting.
Let me switch that out because spawn points are probably different here. Maybe it's going to load. I don't know. But yeah, what's the drop deck for this one? Is this tonnage based?
It is 350 tons between 8 mechs.
Okay, so that's pretty light.
It's pretty light indeed.
That is going to be... I want to say that's going to be all streaks. I want to see...
It could be.
I mean, I don't want to see it, but I want to...
I mean, for this match, I mean, hey, let's look at it. We've got here north of the dropship, we've got that group of buildings that very classic, has been like a brawling area where people use for cover fire. Actually, just north of C4 there's a little hill. And you can actually find just on this hill here a nice little ridge. So you can actually approach quite comfortably from Charlie 4 or Charlie 3 up into the Bravo 3 area and so forth. That said too, if people want to get close up to the dropship at Charlie 4, you've got multiple ways too. You've got C3 Hill right in the corner top part on the west side of the dropship. You've got the tunnels behind it, and you've even got General Alley all the way through Theta, all the way around again like that. So I'm curious what they're going to do here. I mean, with this 350 tons, that's not a lot of mechs, and we see a lot of brawling setups.
Yeah, I just feel like there's nothing but streak furball here. It's going to be Stormcrows, Kit Foxes, and Adders. I mean, if we see something else, I will be pleasantly surprised. But on this one, like, where's the other 2 matches? I think there have been some mind games going on, and I think that ultimately SJR has done a better job on those. Where again, the first match, I think they just straight up outplayed CSJ on the drop decks. They thought, that CSJ was going to try to adapt to them. They did, and there they were full trade. The second match, it didn't really matter, but I think they kept their composure and played the game they wanted to play. I feel like CSJ just wanted to take it to SJR in an unexpected and humiliating way. I'm not quite sure about that, but this one, there's just not that much variation, too much light.
Well, again, these are both very, very good teams, but SJR's got a lot of experience right now. They've been playing for like 2, 3 years consistently, season after season. They're not going to make mistakes. They're going to basically play to their advantage. And, they know the maps. They know it really well, and you got to give them all the credit. That said, I mean, kudos to Smoke Jagger has some balls there. I mean, seriously, Bolus Provanamentus, eh? Balls deep all the way, taking it to them. I like it, okay?
Definitely. Tunnel rush,
sure.
I've got all the respect for that. I mean,
Balls
I've got
deep, hey?
And I've got respect for CSJ even, on that first drop deck where they thought they were gonna, have to brawl, and they, brought a brawling deck. They weren't afraid to adapt. I just think they weren't aggressive enough, but, they're not doing bad. It's just that SJR is doing really well.
They are, unfortunately. I probably against 7% of the other teams out there, they probably would outmaneuvered. They probably could have figured out a way. But again, SJR is not going to make a lot of mistakes. Again, SJR just has a lot of experience. They've got some smart players. They've taken some of the best players from some of the best teams out there before. We had SWK. We had 228. I mean, these are some of the top teams there. And, they've got great, great talent here. Again, I'd love to know a bit more of Smoke Jaguar, to get to know their team a bit, watch them bit more, probably with a bit of experience. They've got some experienced players. I don't know their other players. Maybe that's Happed, and maybe it's just this map too. Unfortunately, this map, looking at it too, it's a rough one. You can either brawl really, really well, or it could be really, really bad. And I think SJR just knew that if they rushed Theta, got into position at Charlie 5 into the back lanes there, they had a firing line that was basically unassailable. In fact, if anything, I almost think Theta is not the ideal location to have there. I think it's an unbalanced location. I would even suggest taking Epsilon or something like that. Maybe we can even get PGI to adjust some of these positions here, because on this map here, I just don't think it's a great location. It gives a huge advantage to whoever gets into Charlie 5 first, and then you're left with basically the north side or west of Theta and Charlie 4. And again, unless you're willing to really circle all the way around and get to Delta 5, wow, you're at a huge advantage. And this is partly spawn location. I think the guys who can rush directly to Theta from the southeast side, which is essentially the Gamma spawn point, I think they got a little bit of advantage just looking at this map. I'll have to see a few more matches, but I really think that it's given a bit of advantage. And unfortunately, like a counter maneuver like Smoke Jagger did through the tunnel didn't work. They probably would have been a rushing Charlie 3. It would have given themselves away a little bit more. They probably could have caught the tail end of Steel Jag as they ran across there. They could have hit Charlie 3, Charlie 4 through the dropship over that hill into the back lanes before they set up, and taken out some of the heavier mechs like the Direwolves who didn't have time to get into position. That said, it's hard to say, but at least it would have put them in position to maneuver into Delta 5 and be on level ground when they finally did a trade off to each other. Who knows?
Yeah, I will be I'm just praying it's not just streaks this time, but I know that's what I'm going to see. They are all in lobby, and we are allegedly launching into match very shortly, so not too much
be
more
good to
of a
see.
wait. I promise we'll get the overlay
starting to
down
see.
again.
Yeah, let's get rid of the overlay. I'll remind you, buddy. I'll remind you.
Gotta go at least 2 for 3.
We should just call you Homebrew Bill from now on. We know what's going on there, man. You're not homeless. You're just homebrewing. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's like, Herb said earlier, he's probably high.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Hey, well,
blame it on whatever you want.
Mind. I was just in New York City. Believe it or not, we were celebrating Lord Ryan Steele's stag out there, so we had a bit of homebrew ourselves. But every corner, I kept seeing Homeless Bill. I was like, "Homeless, how are you doing, man?" And he just kept looking at me funny. I'm like, "I guess you don't play MechWarrior." I go to another corner. I'm like, "Bill, how are you doing?" Guess you just don't play MavRCK. We just kept trying to find Homeless Bill all through New York City, and go figure, we were wrong every single time. So
there's a lot of homeless bills. I mean, I gotta say, and not a lot of them own gaming computers, which is unfortunate. That's what I would do if I was in control of this country. Is just gaming computers for the homeless.
Homebrew bills are there? Homebrew bills. I'm telling you, man. Say that fast like 20 times. Homebrew bills.
Homebrew bill. Okay, we're not even gonna bother. But.
One day we're gonna have a homebrew cast, okay? Like we're just gonna be like double fisting. It'll be hard to like TeamSpeak talk, but it'll be fun, all right?
You know what? I'm down with that. Drunk shoutcasting. That sounds like the right way to shoutcast.
Awesome.
Speaking of which, we have just launched into match. Perfect timing. Launching spectator now, and the overlay's gone. Yes.
Nice job. Here we come, Frozen City Night. And actually, this is my favorite version of Frozen City. I
I
love
mean,
the way
who
it
likes
looks.
the daytime more when it's all foggy and shit? Who likes that?
Aurora Borealis, Canadian. All right. I'm liking this. I'm liking this. Everyone, one day in your life, guys, who, go up to the frozen north and check out the Aurora Borealis. Here we
All
go.
right, nothing but. Oh, geez. Okay, so 4 crows, and it doesn't look like streaks for CSJ. They've got Firestarter, Mist Lynx, Raven 2X, and another Raven 2X. That is an
We got
interesting drop
Laser
there. They are
Vomit with
going.
Smoke Jag.
Yeah, they're going for Theta. SJR, in the meantime, I believe is going to be all streaks. Yes, they are. I see a ton of missiles. I see Kit Foxes and stuff, and they're going straight for center,
Wow.
hoping for a
Streak
furball.
Vomit versus Laser Vomit. We got a match, guys.
Well, we're about to find out if that position is as strong as it was last time in terms of picking off mechs closing the distance. Gray Fox and his Firestarter taking a peek at the hill.
Absolutely. So we got SJR coming up the corner there, ready, peeking over the ridge, exactly where we had Smoke Jag last time. This time, however, we got Smoke Jag down below with Theta Evolve, and they got Laser Vomit. I don't know how Smoke Jag's going to approach them, man. They've got streaks and short-range missiles. They've already used one of their UAVs, and now Smoke Jag's got a fire line down below. This doesn't look too good for
this is the
SJR.
exact same situation as last time, and honestly, I don't know why SJR took the long way around, but they sort of did, and they're back here by this cap point.
Absolutely. They could have rushed actually through Jenner Alley all the way down through the north part into Theta.
Whatever it
just
is,
crush.
now they're moving up to the ridge, and I think I don't know. I wonder if we're going to see the same thing CSJ did last time, where they all just take the dive
We got Gray
and head
Fox
over.
there on the north side. He's coming down through Theta. He's looking to kind of cap there, but we got Dario covering him on the side there. That's some good coverage by Dario there. They had some good scouting there. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Gray Fox is alone, and now it's a one-on-one fight there. Dario's at 99%. Gray Fox is down to 91%. Wow, they're going fast here. You've also got a couple guys, Taj and Nova in the back, giving some fire support to Dario. Gray Fox, you're just not.
Oh, the main charge is going, and SJR's
there.
dropped over
Here comes the
right
charge.
now. Oh, and Glory got caught up top on the rocks in her Stormcrow. I wonder if that is going to get him too spread out. Esoteric killed
Absolutely.
himself by overheating, I believe. Looks like Posh is going to be the first target for SJR.
Martin
I see
putting
regular
his
SRMs
close
too,
now.
not just
Yeah,
streaks.
Pash is down to 20%. Pash is down. Pash
Adwala
is
gets
down.
him.
Yeah, we got Taj 2Xs right now. Dario's down to 79%. G-Man's at 92% is at her well.
Oh, legged Raven. And he goes down.
we
I think
got-
SJR is getting the better end of this trade right now.
Yep,
The laser
they've got
vomit was
3
not enough to
UAVs
pick
all
off
up.
mechs on the way in.
No, Blue is taking over. We don't have a 1 down. Solitude's left. Good job by SJR to close it.
Yep.
Wow, that was a quick match. I wonder who the MVP is going to be this time.
It'll be... I don't know if damage is going to be much of anything. I think SJR just did a nice uniform job there. Sure enough,
They
no
did,
real
yeah.
standouts. No one over 300. And lowest was like 125, and he still did plenty fine.
I mean, that was great positioning by Smoke Jag. They got in position quickly to find a fire line. Man, those streaks are just so powerful. I mean, hey,
Well-
we've got basically essentially a full team of clan mechs coming in on you.
Yeah, I mean, again, at that tonnage, I just don't see another viable option. You know, I know that CSJ was trying to do what got done to them last time, but unfortunately that works when you're defending against a King Crab and a Banshee and some other heavy things, and you have some, you know, serious tonnage out there like Direwolves to alpha down a couple of mechs, because they lost a couple of mechs right off the bat, and that's what made the difference. Whereas here, you know, you don't have that level of firepower. You know, you have harder hitboxes to hit, and you've got mechs that are closing on you much, much faster than those other mechs. And so I just don't think that position is particularly strong, or any weapons besides streaks are particularly strong on that kind of a tonnage.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. I'm just reading up in some of the chat going on there, and Hairpiece is telling Riven to go suck it. Hairpiece, that's not a bad insult there, sucking the dimples off a golf ball. But let me one-up you here, buddy. Tell him to go lick the sweat off a dead goat's balls, all right? You heard it from Mav. Go lick the sweat off a dead goat's balls, all right? There you go.
Take that
That's
home
an
to your
insult.
mother.
Oh yeah, tell your mom that 3 times. See if she doesn't hit you in the face, huh?
All right, well, that wraps up the series. It goes 3-0 SJR. you know, as far as a recap on that last match, I guess we'll just do that real quick in map tactics here. Sketch. SJR was, CSJ was down here. And they went straight for Theta, just like SJR did last time. And SJR sort of took the long, squirming way around. But then they ultimately just dropped off, streak balled into him, and that was it. And there's just not much you can do. You know, I admire CSJ for, you know, giving it a go without streaks, but I don't think there's any hope. I just think on that low a tonnage, the auto aim is the unfortunate way to go because of how clan mechs are built.
Absolutely. I mean, hey, props to Dario there and his Firestar there. I mean, he had some good scouting there. He knew exactly when SJR was going to come down, and he kept SJR from getting a little bit of a poke on him. I mean, he was really on top of Grey Fox coming around the corner and trying to get a little bit of cap. Actually, then we had quite a bit of fire support from Smoke Jaguar. He had Nova come up beside him. He had one of the Ravens too. Actually, no, I think it was Tasha, one of the what do you call it? One of the Crows. But unfortunately, what it also did is I put them out of line, and that gave SJR time to actually rush in with 7 of their mechs and close the distance very, very quickly. Currently, the way it stands, I mean, these streak mechs are really powerful, and they have the sustained DPS to take on a laser vomit crew. I'm not sure what you can really do there.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and I mean, it's ultimately something that just I think PGI is going to need to figure out a way to balance. You know, streaks when they first started were totally useless. Now they're, you know, ridiculously overpowered in certain situations. It's just kind of awkward. But, you know, there's not much you can do. You know, I think for 2 out of the 3 drops on tonight, maybe even all 3, CSJ was beat in the drop decks. I think that first one, they played reactionary. They brought a brawl deck and expected SJR to just push into them. And when SJR went full trade, they never adapted, and so they got out traded and whittled down. The second match, Crab.
The first match, they actually kind of hedged their bets a bit. I mean, they had some kind of long distance mechs there. They had a couple of the Ravens and so forth. But then they had a couple of the Firestars that were short range. Whereas, you know, SJR said, no, we're going to go full long range there. They had a Raven 4Xs. They didn't have the 2Xs. They didn't have any Firestarters. So, you know, you had a bit of a mixed drop deck with Smoke Jagger with the pure long range deck from SJR. You know, and again, you had the Beef carrying it. 556 points on the very first match. 2 kills, 6 assists. You know, right behind him, you had G-Man and his Direwolf Bravo, you know, tier list guy from Metamex. He's doing 470 damage. I mean, these guys really carried hard there, and they took a fair amount of damage too. G-Man dropping at one point from pokes from those 2 Firestars down by about 20% armor there. But unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough poke. They Smoke Jagger kind of put themselves into the bit of the map there, into the side of the water. Their Direwolves couldn't come around. They had one Stormcrow down really quickly, down to 50%. Man, they were just kind of off to a bad footing.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if it was an issue with scouting or if they were really just playing it too cautiously, you know, because at the point where you find out that you're down 3 trading mechs from your scouts, you just got to go. You know, there's obviously no way you're going to win. But, you know, was that information ever conveyed? And, you know, additionally, River City Night makes it hard. You know, it's the actual night map that makes scouting a real pain in the ass, because it's like, did those lasers come from that guy last time? Is this a new guy? You know, they're all pretty together. Who knows? You know, the Ravens were doing a lot of moving around, poking from different locations. So I don't know what the factor was there, but that was just a very well played game from SJR, completely doing the unexpected and then playing it as slow as they needed to take it.
Yeah, and then you had Smoke Jagger's second game. I mean, Smoke Jagger's, you know, team model should be Bullets per Fundamentus. I mean, seriously, balls deep. These guys took a Brawling deck, went all the way to the Tunnel Rush. Brawling deck plus a Tunnel Rush in the same match? Are you kidding me? Come on. These guys did pretty good there, and they got some decent damage there from a few other guys. Unfortunately, they just weren't going to do enough damage. They only got 75 from Dario and their Crab. They got 30 from Koter. I mean, they just couldn't close the distance onto a really, really good heavy assault long-range sniping deck, and unfortunately, it just doesn't work. Then they did the opposite with the lights and medium deck in the next match, and it just didn't work out for them. It's like they almost reversed their tactics, you know, for the opposite for the two matches there.
Yeah, I think that they were playing catch up all night, where, you know, the first match really threw them, that SJR outplayed them at their own game, and I think that got in their headspace. And I don't know what the reason was for the drop deck on the second match, but it seemed like we're going full brawl because fuck those guys, we're going to steamroll them, not doing what we normally do. But, you know, the execution just didn't work. There was way too much time for SJR to set up. SJR, again, got an almost impenetrable position at enough tonnage. And then, yeah, and then the last match, they were like, well, we'll just do what SJR just did to us. And it's like, but it doesn't really work now because you're on a super light drop and streaks are OP. So, you know, good matches played. Again, CSJ had a lot of balls here, and I appreciate that. But I think they need to, you know, march to their own tune rather than play reactively, and I think that hurt them tonight.
Well, and we're really what we're seeing too is we're seeing a solid veteran team that's been basically at the pinnacle. It's been pretty much the top 2 teams, top 3 teams, you know, in competitive MW, and it's SJR. They're there every single time, and they know what they're doing. They've got the top players with lots and lots of experience. They're not going to make easy mistakes. So you pretty much got to be ready with your drop deck off the bat. Otherwise, it's just like League of Legends. If you're being beaten in the champ select, you're going to have a really rough time from the get-go. And I think that's clearly what happened here. You know, in the mech select process, we had some difficulties, and boom, it showed up clearly in the gameplay. And unfortunately, when you play a veteran team like SJR, you got to be ready. You know, Clan Smoke Jack's got some terrific players, some brilliant players, maybe some of the best players, but unfortunately, they got to choose the right maps for the right maps. And if they don't, this is what's going to happen. We'll see what happens in the future with them.
Still, though, I think they've got a lot of talent, and honestly, I think losses like this are going to make them stronger. You know, there's nothing you learn more than just getting your ass whipped a couple of times. You know, those are some of the hardest lessons, but some of the most informative. And, you know, I think that coming out of this, it's just like you need to have confidence in yourself and what you're doing. You know, don't play to these other people's games. And
absolutely,
I hope we'll see that in the future. So.
Absolutely. So what's upping up on MW League now? What's leading up? Any more matches coming up? Any we got your tournament coming around? I know that's happening. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Major League MechWarrior, that is starting finally this week. We get the first set of matches. They're still being scheduled, and I am still trying to update all of this. Oh, geez, where am I going to find this link? Hang on for a second while I dig around for this, but basically, me and Haim are going to try to make a calendar with all the competitive matches that we can find based on, you know, scheduling threads, which, you know, don't count on anything magic. I gotta be honest, because
the website's looking good, man. I'm really enjoying it. I like that brackets. I hope more people go there and start predicting who they think the winners are. Man, you got 2,000 MC, so why not? It's free MC. It's PGI. They're sponsoring us, you know. Thanks to PGI.
Yeah, so I just linked it in chat. Well, by just linked it in chat, I mean I linked it in chat 5 minutes ago. Fuck you, go find it. I will try to link it again when that rolls around maybe, but basically I'm going to try to keep all those on there. I hope it changes time zones for you. If you see the brackets in front, if it has MWOLN, that means that will be shoutcasted by one of us. If you see NGNG, I've offered them, you know, if you want to take matches, please come in and come shoutcast them. So if you see an NGNG tag, you can watch them on NGNG. Again, I will update all those calendar listings with where to actually find it, what link to go to when I have that information. And then even if it doesn't have a tag, there's probably a streamer playing the match, so you can go ahead and do that. Again, going to try to make this a real competitive resource and keep this updated. Really bare bones right now, have not entered enough. But what we do have right now is...
You got Twitter. You got Twitter on the front page. That's always good.
Oh, yeah. If you haven't followed the MechWarrior Online League Network Twitter, you should do that. I think it's at MWOLN or MWO League Network. One of those.
Yep, MWOLN.
Okay, that's good.
MWOLN, that's good. You've got links to MLMW, you've got MRBC links, you've got RHoD. We got all the big leagues at MWO. There's listing there. There's recent casts. You've got the calendars. You've got standings. I mean, it's a great website. It's really looking good, man.
Definitely. Well so far, we've got at 9:30 this Saturday evening Eastern Time. We've got 2 matches scheduled for Major League MechWarrior. That's going to be Second Federated Suns versus Mercstar Turret Drops, and Seraphim versus the New Texas Mercenaries. And on Sunday, we'll probably have a couple of matches, but right now the only one actually scheduled is at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Marine Mechs versus, I want to say that's Stratagame Mercor. So be sure to tune in for those. We'll probably be, putting up casters for those later in the week as someone volunteers for them. So check that out. Bookmark the calendar, whatever. I'll enter more stuff.
The website's MajorLeagueMechWarrior.com. We've got MWOLN, RHoD. We got all these ones. Don't forget MetaMex as well. And as well, we got the Reddit forums, Outreach HPG. So a lot of information there for everybody. We got NGN TV. Have we missed anybody that needs to be talked about?
Not really. I would just like to thank PGI and specifically Tina again for all the help with MechWarrior Major League MechWarrior. She was a huge help in getting all that sorted and getting, PGI sponsorship and getting, and thank you all of PGI for your sponsorship of that.
Yep,
it's very kind of you. And thank you PGI for your spectator access and all of that kind of stuff. Because as janky as this is, it's a great tool to use just to have this. It's the competitive scene isn't going anywhere otherwise, and this kind of thing makes it easy to watch. So, yeah.
Well, one other thing too. I just want to mention, this with the Spectre 2, it's fantastic to watch. They mentioned they're going to update it. I hope they integrate it into the actual client because, believe it or not, for competitive teams, this would be a fantastic coaching device. You can actually see your teams play and tell people what they're doing and what they're doing as a group and so forth. So let's hope PGI integrates into the actual final UI one day. Maybe not now. I know they've got a lot going on all the way leading up to summer, and they've got the Clan Wex Wave 3. They just released the Urban Mech, and they got the Steam release that they're trying to get set up, and they just released a whole bunch of maps for community warfare. But hey, PGI, if you're listening, try to get the Spectre mode integrated into the actual client. It's fantastic, and we could use some of that not just for competitive play, but just for fun to watch as well. It's really useful.
Definitely. Well, any last thoughts, shout outs, or anything like that?
No, we mentioned thanks to everybody again, like Zeus, we've got Smurfy, we had Heim, we have Tina and PGI. To everyone who's put a lot of effort into running the leagues, it's a thankless job. Homeless, you know that for sure. Maj knows that with his group. We've got MRBC out there too, and the community as a whole. I mean, what we really want is get more people involved, more people playing, more people interested in watching as well. The more players we have, the more people interested, the better the game's going to go. And we also want PGI to do well financially, right? So the more players who play means they'll be around longer. And we've been waiting a long time since MechWarrior 4 and Living Legends for a new one, and it looks great right now. So, hey, let's get more people out there, and thanks for everyone's help and support.
Definitely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you had fun watching these games. I apologize for the radio broadcast of Game 1, but hopefully... I'm not going to say hopefully that won't happen again. I know it's going to happen again, but I'm going to keep trying and keep improving. Thank you, big time Mav, for being here. You've been a great second caster. It was a great first cast, so I really appreciate it, man.
We'll have some more fun ones, all right? We'll have a few double fisting nights too. It'll be fun.
Okay. I'm good with this. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you at the next match.